All right, so let's start with the peace chant. Om Bhadram Karnevhi Shunayama Devaha Bhadram Pashve Makshva Viryajatraha Sthirai Angais Tuštuvag Shastanubhihi Vyashema Devahitam Yadayuhu Swastina Indro Vriddhashravaha Shastina Pusha Vishwavedaha Shasti Nastarksho Arishtanemihi Shasti no Brihaspatir Dadhatu Om Shantihi Shantihi Shantihi. So today is the last mantra of Mundaka Upanishad. The mantra is simple. It is a continuation of the previous mantra. What should be the qualification of a person who wants to get the full benefits of the Upanishad? Just for any subject or any skill, there are some conditions required to acquire the skill or the course or the text. So this Upanishad is also telling that those who don't have a committed life, those who have not studied any of the Upanishads or scriptures, and those who don't follow at least if some form of spiritual practices, they won't get benefit from this Upanishad. The wording may appear that Upanishad is discouraging others, those who are not qualified to read, but the main idea is to emphasize the point that unlike other subjects which does not require any so-called spiritual discipline or tapas or a daily spiritual practice, a committed spiritual practice, here it is required to grasp the subject material. So that is the idea. Tat etat satyam ṛṣiḥ aṅgirāḥ purā uvāca na etat acīrṇa-vrataḥ adhīte namaḥ paramaṛṣibhyaḥ namaḥ paramaṛṣibhyaḥ tat etat satyam. This is the eternal truth. What is the eternal truth? The Upanishad, which has been just spoken. As the sage Aṅgirā, Aṅgirā is same as Aṅgiras, to whom Shaunaka went at the beginning, right, of this Upanishad, as the sage Aṅgirasa proclaimed in ancient times. That is, this Upanishad is not something new, but it is a continuation of a lineage of studies. It has been time-tested wisdom. This knowledge cannot be grasped by one who has not observed the sacred vow. That is, acīrṇa-vrataḥ literally means those who have not practiced any vrataḥ. Vrataḥ means taking up some or making some commitment to practice a few rituals or some virtues. That is called vrataḥ. For example, for next 1 month, I will speak less. Or for the next 1 month, I will try to be mindful about what I am talking. This kind of things are called vrataḥ, taking a vow, an intention, or what, there's a word for that, that we try to, we would like to do that, this kind of intention, um, and following, not only taking a resolution, but also follow through that resolution, trying to practice the resolution. That is called uh, vrataḥ. And acīrṇa, those who have not practiced any vows or life of virtues or even some rituals, those who have not done, na etat adhīte, they cannot grasp this Upanishad. How true it is. Same Upanishad are here in front of us, but many gets a lot from this Upanishad, lot of wisdom by just way of practicing some spiritual disciplines. Without that, these may not make any sense what we are reading about. Those who are participants here, regular participants, they already have some idea and some practices. That's why we are able to grasp Upanishad according to our own capacity, but without some amount of spiritual practice, some amount, as I say, that without a refined mind, without refining our mind with the help of the spiritual practices, it is very difficult to grasp these abstract ideas. So, na etat acīrṇa-vrataḥ adhīte. So, adhīte is a wonderful word. Adhīte literally might mean should not read, but adhīte has a deeper meaning. It simply does not mean should not read, but adhīte has a deeper meaning called grasping. That is, really we have grasped the material. Have I assimilated the Upanishad? And this assimilation comes from practice. When we try to practice the main ideas that has been said in the Upanishad, then we can say that yes, we have read it, we have understood it, we have grasped it. To grasp it, only intellect, like to understand rocket science, intellect alone will be sufficient. Understanding quantum mechanics, also some amount of intelligence and some amount of study is needed, but this type of texts require some amount of spiritual practice to grasp it really. Otherwise, all of them will appear to be very, disjointed from each other. Unless we practice them in our life, and they will appear like a bunch of ideas, a bunch of good ideas only. How many of them we can practice in our life, that will actually affect our grasp of the text. Then finally, Upanishad usually ends with one phrase or one sentence and repeated to mean it is the conclusion of the text. It also means some utterances which are important, so important that they are repeated. So here the phrase that is repeated is namaḥ paramaṛṣibhyaḥ. Rishi is sage. ṛṣiḥ is a case ending which means plural. And since namaḥ, so it is probably fourth case ending. Fourth case ending and plural. So when we offer pranam, so it is the fourth case ending to the parama, the great sages. Why? Because of them we got we got this wisdom. Because of the lineage, one sage taught it to another sage. They went on teaching. So this is an opportunity to offer our gratitude to all the sages through whom these, or the seers through whom this wisdom has come down to us. All right. With this, the Upanishad ends. Okay. And any question about this mantra? Okay. So we started with Aṅgirāsa and ended with the sage Aṅgiras.
Maharaj, paramaṛṣibhyaḥ, why are they using paramaṛṣibhyaḥ instead of just ṛṣibhyaḥ?
Parama means super. Super. Not only
Distinctions even in
seers,
rishis.
rishis, yeah, among the rishis also. And these are glorifications, Arthavada. Not only seers, parama seers, that is best among the seers, the great seers. Okay. From whom so there are minor seers, major seers, right? Some minor seers are, they have probably stumbled upon one truth, they grasped one truth alone, and that is what was sufficient for them. They got one glimpse of the reality or grasp of the truth, and probably they went to a cave and their life ended. And paramaṛṣibhyaḥ, the super rishis, the supreme ones, are those who were repository of such wisdoms, not one or two, but a lot. Okay, we may think in that line. So suppose some scientist, if they can get one Nobel Prize in their whole lifetime, they are kind of seer. Okay, and someone suppose have got multiple Nobel Prizes on different topics, or maybe in his own subject or her own subject, but in different breakthroughs or insights they offered. So they are super seers, paramaṛṣibhyaḥ. Okay. With this ends such a wonderful Upanishad, Mundaka Upanishad. Okay. I will try to now answer two questions that I had received the other day during the discussion, during the reflections you shared with us. So one of the questions were not asked directly in the class, but it was asked in the email that I got. The question was, all this is great, but in the tiny snippet of time that we are existing in this body as lay people, living this higher knowledge is not practical other than for yogis and meditators. I feel, okay, this is the first question. The answer to this question is that Vedanta, it may appear that uh, that we are in the whirlwind of life and finding it difficult to balance work, relationship, responsibilities. So the higher knowledge, Paravidya, that this Mundaka Upanishad is all about, that higher knowledge is beyond our reach. It is probably only reserved for full-time yogis. But it is not like that. If we think that way, it will be a mistake. Vedanta can be practiced in everyday life. Everyday life. That is how we can live Vedanta in everyday life. We can um, we can live by the wisdom of the higher knowledge. Living by a higher knowledge does not mean that we are all the time meditating with the help of Om, but it also means that trying to regulate our life or navigate our life, trying to channel our life with the wisdom that the higher knowledge brings. Okay, for example, we can be more mindful about what we are doing. Whatever we are doing, can we be more mindful about, more alert about what we are doing? That's what the Mundaka Upanishad said, that to hit the target, it is important that one is alert. Alert means mindful about what we are doing in our day-to-day life, right? It may mean many things. Many things we know that they are not helping us in any way, and certainly not in our spiritual pursuit, but still we may do the same things, or we may do the same thing the old way. Okay. So can we be more mindful about what we are doing? Then another point, this Upanishad Paravidya said that there are two selves in us, as it were. One is the doer, and another is the witness. Two birds, right? Two birds. The two birds are not two separate birds. The same bird is a doer, and at the same time there is another dimension of the bird, which is the witness. So can we be engaged with the work with the view of a witness, that is not getting entangled in everything, but keeping the broad picture in mind, and ability to attach ourselves with whatever we are doing, at the same time capacity to detach ourselves from all of this. Can we do that? That is higher knowledge, living by the higher knowledge, right? And then and what about truthfulness? This Upanishad says that one of the ingredient of the higher knowledge is living with a life of satya, truthfulness, that we can try to live, although it is difficult to lead totally a authentic and totally life based on truthfulness. It may be difficult sometimes, but even they can be practiced even in the small things. Then if we can do this, if we can be mindful about what we are doing, if we can identify with our witness self, we can if we can live by a life of simplicity and truthfulness, these are all higher knowledge in practice, Vedanta in practice, right? So to think that it is not possible to live or lead a life in alignment with the higher knowledge is not true. Is not true. Okay. In that case, every yogi, every monastic would have been illumined. It's not like that. That just simply becoming a yogi or a monk or a nun does not guarantee higher knowledge. Okay. In the same way, living a householder's life, a lay people's life, does not mean that they cannot grasp the truth. In fact, the Mundaka Upanishad is the very testimony to that fact, that in the very beginning, Shaunaka, a great grihastha, a great householder, Mahashala, that is, he had, by this one word they described, he has a huge, big household, and busy with a lot, not one, but more than one places of fire sacrifices. So each of these rituals were complicated, needed the engagement or the participation of the householder directly. It's not that you can, if you are a householder and doing huge rituals, you are just giving it contract to someone. On that appointed day, I will come, you will chant the mantras, I will listen. It was not like that. Priests were there to help you, but one had to be present in every step, starting from collection of the materials, resources. So It proved that Shaunaka, who came for this higher knowledge, was a busy householder. And Aṅgirā, the sage Aṅgirā, was a householder sage teaching in a Gurukul. Okay. So the person who asked this question, that is it possible in our daily life to live by the higher knowledge, the answer is yes. It is yes. Higher knowledge, we have to understand what higher knowledge means. A life which is conducive for our spiritual growth. And that is not a 1 hour affair. It is all the time we can do something. All the time we can take 1 or 2 virtues, and all the time we can practice. Let me see whether I can practice this. I can practice that. Okay. So it is possible to live. Her second question was, role of evolutionary forces. I feel that we all are subjected to working against evolutionary forces here. Is not the evolutionary force itself the work of Brahman? Yeah, true, exactly. And even the evolutionary forces are all working of everything came from the Brahman, that Purusha higher reality. That is what Mundaka Upanishad said again and again. So the point is, some of the evolutionary forces may appear to work against us, as it were, like our instincts and our biological needs and social needs, as it were, they are against our higher against they are working against a life of higher knowledge. It is true, sometimes these instincts, which are evolutionary forces, are working in us. So the point is, yes, we can think about in 2 ways. One is, as a student of Upanishad, I should be better, I should be in a better position to recognize these forces, that how these forces are working through us. That how greed or envy or sense of insecurity sometimes cripples us. We should be able to recognize it. Then can we refine these? Okay. For example, it is because of evolution that all of us want to be famous. We want to be popular, that people should know me, my ideas, who I am. These are all the work of evolutionary forces. So can we recognize it, that when that this revolutionary force or evolutionary force is working through us, and can we turn this into, instead of being known or famous, can I be real friend to people? Can I have connection with people rather than being recognized and applauded by people? Can I really be good friends with people? So I need not be known among thousands and millions of people, but maybe a handful of people I have got good connection, good friendship. We can recognize it and refine it in that way. And finally, we can even transcend all of this. This is how we can look at it as students of Upanishad. Secondly, there are many, for example, intelligence. It's an evolutionary force. It's a product of evolution, right? The same intelligence we can use for viveka, discernment, right? We can use it for betterment, even understanding the Upanishads, reflecting on these Upanishads, and applying this Upanishad in our life. That is also evolutionary force called intelligence. So it is product of the same Brahman, came from the same reality, but it is not acting against us. It may sometimes even acting against us, but we can sometimes make intelligence, the use of intelligence, in understanding the Upanishad, grasping the Upanishad, reflecting on the wisdom of the Upanishad. That's a good use of the evolutionary force. Okay. So we are, yes, to some extent, we are up against the evolutionary force, but we should not be at the mercy of them. We have the choice to transcend them, not to be bound down by them, not to be bogged down by them. Okay, so these were questions from one of you. Then Mr. Carmen was not a question, he wanted to know about the idea of Jnana Prasada, which comes in the mantra 3.1.8. 3.1.8, Jnana Prasada, the grace of knowledge. The mantra says that na chakshusha grihate na api vaca na annaihi devaihi tapasa karmana va jnana prasadeno vishuddha sattah tatah tu tam pashyate nishkalam dhyayamanaha. That reality cannot be grasped by the eyes, nor by speech, nor by the other senses. It cannot be attained through austerity or actions. It is only by the grace of knowledge that one with a purified mind sees that undivided reality while meditating. So here, grace of knowledge means, what is grace of knowledge? Any idea? What is grace of knowledge? We studied this mantra. Yeah.
When the self is realized in your own heart, like when it's given to you intuitionally by the divine.
Yes, that is one way of talking about it. But here, in this mantra, Jnana Prasad means something else, has some little different meaning.
Means righteous thinking.
Ah,
Viveka.
Viveka is one idea. Okay.
Purity of mind, which makes us able to receive this knowledge.
Yes, exactly. Jnana Prasado means, Shankaracharya writes in his commentary, Jnana Prasado means here the actually Chitta Prasada or Buddhi Prasada. Chitta means mind, Prasado means a mind which is content, which is calm, which is full of grace. Okay, like a Shankaracharya says, like a still lake, a crystal clear and still lake, or a dart-free mirror, as it reflects the true image, or as we can see a calm lake through the water of a calm lake, a mind like that, which is free from the dart and free from the dart of a like a mirror or all the ripples that we can see in a lake. A mind which is free from all of this is a mind which is conducive for the higher knowledge. Okay, so Jnana Prasado. So the verse says this Atma cannot be grasped merely by talking about it, or cannot be grasped by eyes. It is transcendent. It is not something we can perceive through our eyes, not even any other organs, but Jnana Prasadena. If mind is conducive, then Nishkala Dhyayamana. In our meditation, mind, if the state of the mind is proper, a calm mind and a recollected mind, a steady mind, then one can see it. One can see the reality as it is with the prasada, with the grace of mind's grace. Okay, so for example, the same teacher may teach the same Upanishad under the same conditions, but if our mind is someday agitated, right, for some reason, just before the class, something happened in our household which is deeply disturbing. At that time, we may be attending the class, but we may not grasp what is our true import of the teachings. Okay. Similarly, a mind which is agitated, which is disturbed, that mind cannot grasp that reality. To grasp that reality, one has to quieten the mind, to make the mind calm. Okay. So that is the meaning of Jnana Prasada. Mr. Carmen, is it clear? Yeah, you can just unmute. Oh, is it? Yeah, you can unmute. Yeah. No, we cannot hear. Probably you are muted.
Yes,
Yeah.
thank you. Thank
Yeah.
you so much. I almost forgot that I had asked, and that's very helpful. I think what had crossed my mind when I asked the question was, in the evolution of our thought or our practice, I used to think that grace was unobtainable. But and maybe I still am not, my thinking is not exactly clear, but the way you describe it is, if it has to do with purification of the mind,
Yeah.
then the purification process is within our own grasp. It has to
Yeah.
do with our
Yeah.
practice. So
Right.
to me, that is a hopeful
Yeah.
concept.
Yeah. Exactly. Exactly. So we can make our mind conducive
Yeah.
or receptive, ready for this knowledge.
Yeah. So thank you.
Yeah. Yeah.
So Maharaj, this is same as dhi, in the Gayatri mantra we chant dhi, dhiyo yona prachodaya. So awakened intellect, the intellect that is now able to grasp these higher ideas.
Not only intellect, here's purity also. Purity of the mind. Okay. So not only the dhi there means our wisdom, wisdom or the capacity to discern, viveka, these are part of dhi. Okay. But not only an intellect which is very sharp, but also a mind which is pure. Because we can find people very sharp intellect, but those same intellects can be used for wrong purposes. Okay, so here comes the importance of purity of mind, not only a sharp intellect, okay, or even a subtle mind which can grasp even subtle ideas or subtle arguments. That is not also sufficient. But since it is all about our own life, a subjective transformation, so mind should be pure from turbulences. Okay. Yes. Gyananda,
Sorry.
sitting
Chitta
on
Prasada.
Chitta
Chitta
Prasad.
Prasad is that calmness of that mind and purity of mind. And then
Yeah.
Buddhi Prasada, what Shankaracharya said. What is
Yeah.
that? Intellect should be pure or what?
No, Shankaracharya uses the word Buddhi Prasada to mean the same thing, Chitta
Same
Prasada.
only. Same
Yeah,
only.
yeah, exactly. Yeah. All right. So we last month studied, then questions answered. Now I will give in what I wanted to do is we know all of these. Just want to go through again the main spiritual practices that Mundaka Upanishad have given before us. Okay, which are so important, I feel. So spiritual disciplines which have been collected from the Mundaka Upanishad. Mantra 2.2.3, where Upanishad brings the question of the archery, the bow, the arrow. It said, sharpen the mind with upasana. Sharam hi upasa nishitam. That is the arrow. What was the arrow? Arrow is our own mind. If you remember the analogy or imagery of archery, the bow is the Om, or our, you can replace it Om with any spiritual path, any spiritual sadhana we are doing. That is the bow. That is the launch pad. That is the launch pad. And arrow is our own mind, right? And target is Brahma or Purusha. That is our higher self, Atma. Okay. So with the help of the upasana, we have to throw our mind, or direct our mind, shoot our mind at our higher self. That is the imagery of archery. But Upanishad says that the arrow should be sharpened by upasana. So everything is fine, but the mind, the arrow itself, is not sharp. Then what will happen? It will not be able to hit the target. It will touch and fall down, right? So we need a sharp mind. Sharp mind is how mind is sharpened. Mind is sharpened by upasana. Okay, upasana. Upasana is any kind of spiritual practice where we are trying to focus on one particular idea, image, thought, mantra, words, and excluded from other thoughts. That is upasana. Okay. So to do even this archery of Om and mind, we even need a mind which is already sharp, which has been sharpened with upasana. Okay. So again, the same point, that some amount of capacity to meditate, is some practice of meditation is needed. Upasa nishitam. In arrow, our mind, which is like an arrow, has to be sharpened through upasana. Any spiritual practice that gives us this one-pointedness meditation. Then it says, samdhayeta ayamya tadbhava gatena chetasa. That is, take the mantra is very poetic. It said that take the great weapon, which is Upanishadam, which can be found in the Upanishad. Great weapon. Which is the great weapon? The bow, which is the Om. Okay. Take Om and sharpen your mind with upasana, then samdhayita. Put it in a archery, in the language of archery, it is called knocking. Knocking. N-O-K-I-N-G. Knocking. So putting it on the string of the bow, then ayamya. Ayamo is pull it back, pull it back. So here is something very meaningful. That is, when we are, with the help of the Om, we are trying to shoot the target, mind also should be withdrawn, like drawing the string. It is withdrawing the mind from worldly entanglements at that time. So that tadgata chetasa, so that we can become absorbed in the goal itself, absorbed in the goal. So these two spiritual practices, one is upasana to sharpen our mind, and second one is when we are doing our spiritual practices, we should try to withdraw from all worldly concerns for the time being, which is very difficult though, because we know that the moment we sit for meditation, then only all these hidden thoughts, they come up on our mind, like what needs to be purchased from the grocery store in 2 weeks. At that time come to our mind, and we go through the list and also do the planning from which store we shall purchase which of the things, all of these. So Upanishad is telling that for the time being we have to withdraw our mind and we have to lose ourselves. Not only withdraw the mind, we have to lose ourselves in the goal itself, that is in our higher nature. We shall lose ourselves in our higher nature, or Brahman, or Ishvara, or God, whatever we say. Okay. So two important, one is upasana, need of upasana. Another is withdrawing the mind from time to time from the worldly entanglements. Then second was pranava dhanuhu sharo hi atma brahma tat laksham uchyate. 2.2.4 apramatteno vedhyabhyam sharavat tanmayo bhavat. Now in this mantra it is said pranava, Om is the bow and our own mind is the arrow and Brahman is the target. One must strike it with unwavering concentration and become one with it. Apramatteno, this word was important. Pramada means delusion and kind of confusion. All of these are the word pramada, not being alert. And apramatta means opposite of pramada. Okay, that is, pramada is a state of tamas, mixing things up and not doing what we are supposed to do, and getting doing the same thing again and again and expecting different results. Okay, all of these are examples of pramada, absence of alertness. But Upanishad says that apramatteno vedhyabhyam. Who can shoot the target of Brahman with their mind, with the help of Om? Those who are apramatta, those who are alert, those who are alert about their life, spiritual life. And this alertness is such a wonderful quality that it manifests in every field of work, not only in our spiritual practices, but it also is reflected in everything we do. Alertness. Okay. So alert mind will make less mistakes. They would not do the same mistake again and again. All of these are the hallmarks of an alert mind. So why we are not succeeding even if we are doing this Omkara sadhana? That lack of alertness in what we are doing. And this alertness should be present mindfulness, alertness should be present throughout our waking life. It's not that spirituality is something I will do only in the morning or in the evening. Spirituality is a way of life. A person who is spiritual will be spiritual even when they are in the grocery store. A person who is not spiritual will not be spiritual even in a church, or even in a temple. Okay, so spirituality is not something only reserved for only some hours. So to lead the whole life in this wisdom of this higher knowledge is called alertness. Okay, there will be times when we will be away from it. We may miss the target. We may forget about all our goals, but again we should remind ourselves about at least there should be some reckoning from time to time and at the back of our mind about our spiritual life, spiritual goal. That is called alertness. Okay, this is important. Our president was Swami Ranganathananda, was a wonderful orator and great monk, and he used to say that at the age of 96, 97, he was so alert. Even at that age, you won't believe, as sharp eyes as it he had piercing eyes and always curious about things and ability to understand, grasp things. So he used to say that this alertness expresses through eyes. You can say alert eyes and non-alert eyes. The eyes itself says if someone is alert or not. So we may find when we are after a good sleep or good meditation, when we are very cognitively alert, our eyes also reflect that alertness. That eyes are sparkling, like so much of alertness is there. And this alertness is a sattvic quality. Just now we studied that Jnana Prasada, the grace of the mind, grace of the buddhi, that means a sattvic mind. And how to make a sattvic mind? Try to be alert. Try to be alert most of the time. Okay. That is alertness. This Upanishad says us this is something we can practice all the time, trying to be mindful, alert about what we are doing, what we are consuming, what kind of behavior we are engaging with, what kind of thoughts we are harboring in our mind. All of these are alertness, part of alertness. Then there was another mantra, 2.2.5. तमेव एकम जानथ आत्मानम अन्यावाच vimunchataha. Know that one alone to be the self. Give up all other talks. Give up all other talks. So this is, and the mantra says, this is the bridge to immortality. This is the bridge to immortality. What? That only one thing is worth the full attention. That is our true nature. Except that everything is not unimportant, but everything else falls under the lower knowledge. We cannot avoid that, but the more we can channel our attentions and focus to the spiritual reality, better it is for us. So many a time, all other discussion means here vain discussion, okay, or consuming toxic news. All of these should be cut down. Why? Because spiritual life, success in spiritual life is a serious affair. We need to be alert. We need to sharpen our mind with upasana. Then we have to reflect on what we study. Then we have to practice what we study. These are high-stake job. These are in itself, they require a lot of energy. For those who have tried to meditate well, might have realized how much of energy, really calories, are needed to meditate well. Meditation is not a passive activity. It is an extremely active activity. It requires a great deal of energy. So, all of the spiritual practices that Upanishad says, which are needed to succeed in the goal or furthering, forget about succeed. The more we can proceed, more we can progress, it's better for us. So all of these require energy and attention and all of this. So we should preserve that attention, which is very important for us. And this attention should not be lost in vain topics, vain discussion. Okay. Anything other than that is compromise we are making, but some of the compromise are must. We cannot withdraw from the world, but the thing is how much of the worldly things we should be engaged with. Okay, that is ṛṣiḥ vimunchatah. The more we can divert or channel our energies in spiritual practices, the better is the chance that we reach the bridge, which is the bridge to eternity. Okay, so this is one thing. Ṛṣiḥ, too much of vain discussion, too much of getting into all of these argumentations and rhetorics, all of these are ṛṣiḥ. Okay, the more we can limit them, better it is for us. Okay, that is one practice. Then finally is shifting from doership to witnessing. The two birds analogy, mantra number 3.1.1. Two birds, inseparable friends, sit on the same tree. One eats the fruit while the other simply watches. So what is the spiritual practice? Detaching from the ego and the personal narrative. Rather, try to be the observer. When we enjoy a good meal, feel joy, or even face disappointment, there is a part of us, no doubt, which is deeply involved, but there is also a quieter part in us which just watches without judgment. That is what the higher bird is. So it is second bird. Try to identify yourself with the second bird, the observer, the witness. It is not detachment out of apathy though, but it is seeing the bigger picture. And so that we remain calm under all the ups and downs of the life, mental states, all of these will come and go. But if we can remind ourselves or identify ourselves with the observer, the higher bird, which is observing, witnessing, then we will find that we can keep our mind steady and calm even in the midst of problems and turmoils which are inevitable in our life. So if more we can witness, more we can be witness of all of this, the better grasp we shall get on the larger picture of our life, and we can remain calm. These are the spiritual practices I think are important for us, important takeaways from the Upanishad. One is sharpen the mind with upasana, that is sharpen the mind with meditation, reflection. Then withdraw from worldly entanglements at the time of the meditation at the time of the spiritual, the esoteric spiritual practice, the deep spiritual practice of meditation. Then the need of alertness, being alert in our day-to-day life, being alert about our spiritual goal, where we want to go. It is just as those who have attended my last Sunday lecture, it was about the starlight of our attention, which means our capacity to navigate our life through the guiding stars, through the values and goals of our life, not forgetting our goals, trying to navigate our life in alignment with our goals and values. That is alertness. Okay, that is alertness. Then be absorbed. That is tanmayo bhavet. How can we be absorbed? We just have to let go of our ego self. Ego self. Okay. Ego self is what we think ourselves as a character of a story. All the stories are related to this ego self, who has a role to play, who is in relation to others. That is our ego self. But absorbing or losing ourselves to our higher reality is just being the observer, the higher observer, where we are just observing. We are not giving any commentary to our observations, any judgment to our observations, just not spinning out stories out of our observations. Okay, not planning, not having internally chattering, having internal chatter, but to lose ourselves in the goal, that is the witness. Then give up vain talks and rhetorics. All of these, Twitter storm, all of these are mentally exhausting. They takes a lot of our mental energy and disturb our mind. So less we are engaged with these type of talks, better it is for us. And finally, try to be a witness like the higher bird of the Mundaka Upanishad. So these are the some of the practices. The Upanishad also speaks about truthfulness, then tapas and brahmacharya. Truthfulness is living a life of truthfulness, which is a virtue everywhere, in every religion, every country, everywhere it's a virtue. Then tapasa, a simple life, a life of simplicity. Brahmacharya, a life of not indulgence, a life of disciplined life. Okay, all of these are practices, but I wanted to focus on those practices: alertness, then the need to sharpen our mind with meditation, then letting go of ourself at the time of meditation, and not to be engaged in vain discussion, and try to identify with our witness self as much as we can. Okay, this is how I'll remember Mundaka Upanishad. Okay, yeah. If you have any question, please feel free. Yeah, feel free. So our next text will be Katha Upanishad, and uh, I have already given the PDF in our newsletter. You can go to our website and check for monthly calendars. And in April month calendar, you will see where the announcement is made that Katha Upanishad will start the class on 18th of April. Okay, so next week we are not having the class. We start on Good Friday, 18th April. Okay, on that day we start the class, and where the announcement is, you will see the link to the text. If you click on the link, the Kathopanishad of Swami Nikhilananda will open up. Then you can download it on your computer. Okay, we shall study Kathopanishad next from 18th April. You are welcome, Victoria. So I think today we have time. So let's conclude with a guided meditation, right? And that too from the Mundaka Upanishad. Okay, so I'll take a break for a minute to drink some water. You can also please do that. Then we shall have the guided meditation. Okay, yeah. Thank you so much, all of you. See you in 2 weeks in